Paranoia Agent. In this world, stress spreads like a disease. It all starts when Tsukiko, a character designer, makes up a story about being attacked by a kid with a golden baseball bat to avoid a work deadline. But then something weird happens. This made-up attacker, Lil Slugger, starts showing up for real, attacking other stressed-out people across Tokyo. The thing is, Lil Slugger isn't really the bad guy here. He shows up exactly when people can't take the pressure anymore. And the strangest part? His victims seem almost relieved after he attacks them, like they finally have a good excuse to drop all their responsibilities. As more people get attacked, the whole city starts to lose its grip on reality. News reports, rumors, and actual attacks all blend together. Nobody knows what's real anymore. The city literally starts to fall apart as everyone's shared reality breaks down. What makes this truly scary isn't just the violence. It's the idea that maybe deep down, part of you would welcome someone like Lil Slugger showing up when life gets too overwhelming. That golden bat might actually look like a way out when you're drowning in stress. The Magnus Archives. You're Jonathan Sims, the new head archivist at a place that collects stories about weird, unexplainable events. Most of these stories can be easily debunked, but some can't. The ones that feel most real have to be recorded on tape, not digitally, and speaking them aloud feels like opening doors that should stay closed. At first, these seem like separate scary stories. A woman eaten by a book, a man who found an impossible door in his house, caves that change shape around explorers. But slowly you start to see connections between them all. Then comes the truly terrifying part. Our world is actually shaped by 14 different types of fear. Not just feelings, but actual entities that feed on our terror. The fear of being buried alive, the fear of falling forever, the fear of strangers who aren't quite right. And as you record each scary story, you're not just documenting these fears, but you're serving them, especially the one called the eye that watches everything. Your growing paranoia isn't just in your head, it's you waking up to the truth. And when you finally realize your entire job was set up to feed these fear gods, you understand the worst truth of all. Learning about these powers doesn't help you fight them. It just marks you as their property. Over the garden wall, two brothers, Wirt and Greg, get lost in a strange forest called the Unknown. They meet a talking bluebird named Beatrice and learn about a monster called the Beast who stalks lost travelers. Every place they visit feels like an old American folktale brought to life. Everything is autumn-colored and slightly off. But these woods aren't just a physical place. All the weird, twisted trees and strange characters they meet reflect Wirt's teenage anxieties and fears. When they're warned that the Beast wants to turn them into trees to fuel his lantern, it's really about how easy it is to get lost in your own sadness and fear. As they travel deeper into the woods, the line between being alive and dead gets blurry. They meet people who aren't quite living but aren't really gone either. There's a town where everyone wears pumpkins on their heads and dances in an endless harvest celebration. A fairy that you pay for with your deepest regrets. What's really scary is when you realize the unknown only appears to people who are already slipping away, drowning, dying, losing themselves. And when the Beast finally shows himself, just a silhouette of twisted branches with glowing eyes, you understand that some people never find their way back out of their darkest moments. Sometimes we drag others down with us when we're lost. Coraline. There's a small door in Coraline's new apartment that shouldn't lead anywhere but brick. But somehow it becomes a tunnel to another apartment just like hers, but better. The food tastes amazing. The neighbors are entertaining instead of annoying. And her other mother with black button eyes gives her all the attention her real parents never have time for. This isn't just about a cool parallel world, though. Something's not right. The colors are too bright. The other mother's fingers keep getting longer. Her smile is too wide. The garden outside is too perfect, like it was designed to be looked at rather than actually grown. Then comes the awful truth. This world wasn't made for Coraline to enjoy. It was made to trap her. Those button eyes aren't just a weird fashion choice. They're what the other mother wants to sew onto Coraline's real eyes. The other mother isn't a nicer version of her mom. She's an ancient, hungry thing that's been luring children for centuries. When the other mother's severed hand follows Coraline back to the real world, still hunting her, you realize the scariest part. The boundary between worlds has always been thinner than we think. Monsters don't need our permission to reach through. They just need us to want something badly enough that we'll ignore the warning signs. Yume Nikki. You play as Madatsuki, a young girl who won't leave her tiny apartment. The game never explains why. During the day, all you can do is walk around her small room. TV, bed, desk, a door you refuse to open. But when she sleeps, her dreams become huge, impossible worlds connected by doors that make no logical sense. As you explore these dream landscapes, a neon highway with ghost people, a snow world with faceless women chasing you, a desert of pastel colors. You collect effects that change how you look, a knife that makes you a killer, a towel that makes you sneeze blood, a cat body that lets you meow. But nothing you find ever seems to help or make things better. What's really unsettling isn't jump scares or monsters. It's the total silence, the lack of any explanation, and the feeling that you're walking through someone's broken mind. The creatures you meet don't attack you so much as just exist in disturbing ways, like human fears given strange forms. And when a one-eyed ghost man follows you through multiple dreams, moving in unpredictable ways, you realize these aren't random dreams, but a consistent inner world with its own twisted logic. The most devastating moment comes without any words at the end, when Madatsuki finally opens her apartment door, steps onto her balcony, and jumps off. Her suicide isn't played for shock. It's shown as calmly as everything else in the game, suggesting that maybe all those dreams weren't escapes from her room, but from something even worse that followed her even into sleep. The Mandela Catalogue. Imagine someone is in your house who looks exactly like your spouse. Same face, same clothes, same voice. But when they smile, it doesn't look quite right. When they speak, their voice comes slightly before their lips move, and they're standing at the foot of your bed, watching you pretend to sleep, knowing that you know they're not who they appear to be. The local police department puts out warnings about these alternates, beings that replace your loved ones and drive witnesses to suicide just by being so wrong, so uncanny. But even the warning videos themselves start to feel off, as something hijacks the broadcast and speaks directly to viewers, telling them that angels aren't what the Bible says they are, that salvation was never God's plan. What's truly terrifying isn't just the jerky movements of these alternates or their slightly wrong faces. It's the idea that reality has always been compromised, that these things have been among us since biblical times, infiltrating so completely that our holy texts were changed to make us mistake them for divine messengers. When emergency alerts tell you to ignore family members who seem unusual, to lock yourself in your room and avoid looking at them, you realize there's nowhere safe. Not authorities, not religion, not even your own family. The most awful revelation comes between bursts of static and corrupted footage. What we thought was Satan's fall from heaven was actually his imprisonment. And what we call God is something else entirely. Something that's been wearing creation like a mask, waiting for us to invite it closer through our prayers and worship. The alternates aren't the invasion, they're just the mask finally slipping. Fear and hunger. This game puts you in a dungeon that's always been there, hidden beneath the normal world. Its stone hallways shift when you're not looking, and you find disturbing traces of previous explorers. A severed arm hanging from a hook, a pile of human teeth used as money, bloody bandages where someone cut off their own face to please something watching from the walls. But this isn't just about physical torture. As you go deeper into the ancient chambers, reality itself becomes unreliable. Your companions, a plague doctor with a bird mask, a knight with religious delusions, a cannibal trying to be better, each bring their own mental problems. Their minds break alongside yours as sanity becomes just another resource you have to spend to progress. The real dread comes not from the monsters, but from the choices they force you to make. When you're starving, which party member do you start to eat? When ancient gods demand sacrifice, which limb do you cut off at their altar? When your companions go crazy, which one do you kill before they kill you? Each decision permanently changes how you play, how you look, and how human you remain, all falling away as you adapt to the dungeon's twisted rules. The most disturbing thing? There is no escape, no happy ending. The deeper you go, the more you realize that what waits at the bottom isn't freedom, but a horrible kind of transformation, becoming something that isn't human anymore, something that no longer remembers why it used to fear the dark. When you finally meet beings so ancient they existed before the concept of gods, you understand your whole journey wasn't about surviving, but about becoming worthy of being destroyed. Don't hug me, I'm scared. Everything looks like a kid's show. Colorful felt puppets living in a little house, asking innocent questions that trigger musical lessons from talking objects. Today's lesson might be about creativity, or time, or healthy eating, each delivered in upbeat songs that sound like they belong on children's TV. But something is definitely wrong with these lessons. Something is wrong with this world. As each episode goes on, the cheerful educational format falls apart. The singing notebook tells Yellow Guy that green is not a creative color, while the screen gets weird and distorted. The talking clock's lesson about time ends with the puppets aging and rotting while he sings faster. The healthy eating song ends with hallucinations of organs being harvested. Each teacher becomes more unhinged, the lessons more contradictory, the puppets more traumatized. What's most disturbing isn't the gore or the screaming. It's how everything returns to normal afterward. No matter what horrors the puppets witness, their friends' organs harvested by a cult, their minds controlled by computers, their reality repeatedly broken. The next episode begins with them back at their table, memories apparently reset, ready for another lesson. The cycle never stops. The teachers keep coming. The cheerful educational format keeps stretching to include increasingly existential horror, the bitter truth underneath all the felt and foam. These aren't just parodies of children's shows. They're diagrams of how modern media works. When the television itself becomes a character, telling the puppets that life doesn't exist outside its programming, you realize the most horrifying thing. Maybe you too have been trapped in endless lessons, taught to consume and obey through bright colors and simple songs, never questioning why you keep sitting at the same table, waiting for someone to explain what happens next.
Subscribe for more interesting stuff. Tell us your experience in the comments.